So for this one, let's recognize the fact that there is the possibility to get a positive value in front of the variable. Okay, that would be my first, like, just eyeball and go, okay, ask yourself the question, can I get a positive value in front of the variable using my manipulation? Well, it turns out if I took this and I added 3t to both sides, now my inequality is going to turn into something that looks like this. That's a zero pair, so it's going to disappear. I get 4 plus 7 has to be less than 5t plus 3t plus 19. Okay, now you've got the t's on the right side, and I'm going to get a positive value, so that's good. This positive 19, why don't you just bring it to the other side by subtracting 19 from both sides? There's a zero pair, and now you're going to get negative 19 plus 4 plus 7 has to be less than 5t plus 3t. Okay, now you can collect all, look, we've done all the work, we've organized, right? Just like what we were doing with equalities. Okay, so now you can just do the math. Do the math on the left side, do the math on the right side, see what you get, and then get t by itself. Right, so you're going to see, okay, negative 19 plus 4 plus 7, well, that's going to be negative 8. And that has to be less than 8t. T's not quite by itself yet, so just divide both sides by 8. What you will notice here, I'm going to make this smaller, it's too big. That value is positive, so you don't have any worries with the inequality. You're good to go. If that value is negative, you have to flip it. Again, I'm sure there's going to be questions where there's like a negative, take away a negative, and it's going to be negative, and then you're going to have an issue. Okay? So once you do that, you're just going to get negative 1. Oops. There's your inequality statement, or what t has to be greater than negative 1. And we don't have any worries with the inequality. We don't have to flip. We're good. Okay? You could check that. You could plug in a value of 2 and check it to make sure that you're good, because it's t greater. You could plug in you could plug in 0 if you wanted to, because it's t is greater than negative 1. Well, if you're greater than negative 1, 0 is a possibility. Okay? So you can plug in 0 into the inequality statement and check to make sure that the left side is indeed less than the right side. Okay? Once you've confirmed that, or you're confident enough that everything's good to go, draw the numbers on your number line. Okay, and you say, okay, well, t is greater than negative 1. Okay, well, that means all the numbers to the right of negative 1, and it doesn't include negative 1, so just draw an open point. Questions, comments, concerns? Are we all right? Okay, for the last one's a little tricky, okay? Tricky if you've never seen it before. Once you've seen it, it's not too bad. Same work. Okay, looks like Mr. Poling was thinking of a number. 3 more than twice my number is less than 17, but at least negative 1. If my number is an integer, what are the possible values of my number? Ooh, tricky question. Okay, well, let's say right off the bat, we'll say, let's define our variable, whatever variable we want to use, so that we're very clear when I get to the very end and I need to write a therefore statement. If I do, that the variable that we've used throughout the question has been well defined. That's what the let statement's going to do. Okay, so let's just get in the habit of saying let x represent the number. Okay? So let's just tackle this, okay? Three more than twice my number is less than 17. Let's just dissect this and then just deal with it, okay? There's a comma, so I'm just gonna try and break down the question in any way I can, just to make it more manageable. 3 more. I typically do this with my grade 10 class when we start pushing into the harder word problems, but can anybody think of an order of operation that is associated with the word more in mathematics? Elizabeth? Addition. So I'd say, okay, let's scratch out the word more, and this is just something, you don't have to do this, I'm just trying to give everybody a tool, right? So if we see the word more, I can replace the word more with a plus sign. And obviously you could say, okay, well, 3, if you don't like the word 3, you could replace it with the actual number. Okay. Twice, what's twice mean? So it says 3 plus twice my number. Aaron?
Like 2 times 3.
Yeah, it'd be like multiplying, right? So we're going to say twice, you're going to like be 2, open a bracket. What's your number? Your number is what? X. Right? So it's your number, my number is X. Ever see what I'm doing? Not a bad method. I wish somebody had shown me this, because it is a lot of information to try and like extract from a question. And quite frankly, like sometimes when you have that many words in there, it can be a little overwhelming. You don't know where to put what information, right? So just start scratching things out, and all of a sudden, look at that. 3 plus 2x, well, that looks like something nice. Right? So you can say, okay, 3 plus 2x is less than 17. What's the less than symbol look like? Like this. I'm just reading left to right. 3 plus 2x, just like it was a sentence. I'm turning a sentence into a statement, like a mathematical equation. 3 plus 2x is less than 17. Okay, good. Look at all this stuff. I took care of all that stuff. There's one little piece more. Yes, Opal?
I was just wondering, does it have to be in that sequence if you put like 3 plus 2 or 17 is less than 3 plus 2 or greater than that?
You mean like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right too. It's all right too. We're not quite done, so. You know what the issue with that is, Opal? It's not that it's an issue. It's not a big deal, actually. We have one more piece of this to write down, and it's this, but at least -1. And I think what's going to look awkward is if I do this. Sorry. And I'm saying that looks awkward because on a number line, 17 is on the right and -1 would be on the left. So that's why it looks a little awkward to me. It's not that the statement is false. You're still going to read in the middle. You're going to say, you're going to read in the middle and go outward towards the numbers, right? So you're going to go 3 plus 2x is less than 17. That's fine. It says what it says. It just looks a little awkward because 17 is supposed to be on the right on the number line and -1 is on the left. Yes, Opal?
And does your x have to be in the middle?
I think so. Anytime I've done this, after like thinking about where you're going to use this, I always write the variable in the middle and read outward. It's the easiest way to do it. And then you create your boundaries on either side. So when you get to grade 10 and we're looking at this, I think this might be a little awkward. Because we're going to be looking at a graph, and I think you're going to want the lower values on the left and the higher values on the right. So it might just be good practice to just do that. Okay? So I'd flip-flop these around so that it looks something like this. Okay, is everybody happy with that? That's not easy. We've never done that before. That's a little tricky to come up with. Especially mixing in like the less than or at least, like the word at least means it could be -1. It's at least -1. So at the very least it's -1. So it could equal -1, right? Does everybody agree with that statement? Okay. Now, to actually finish this off, I think you're going to have to do, this is tricky. So you got two inequalities going at the exact same time. So you're gonna have to solve both of them. You could do it separately, but I think it's not too bad to do them both at the same time. So, you can imagine how like awkward this would be if it was two equal signs. This would be really weird if you had two equal signs in the same line. Well, that's not what this is, okay? But you're envisioning trying to solve it the same way. So here, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna subtract 3, right, to create a zero pair. Because what do you want? You want the x's by themselves. Did everybody agree? So that we can do all this work. So that's what we're trying to do. But be careful here. You might be asking, well, where do I go? Where does the -3 go? Does it go on the left or does it go on the right? What happens? How do you know which one it goes with? Aaron?
It goes with both.
It has to go with both of them. Because it's all one big statement. Right? So if you're going to subtract 3 to get it to like create a zero pair, then you're going to have to subtract 3 on the left, and you're also going to have to subtract 3 on the right. Okay, and now your inequality is going to look something like this. -3 take away 1 has to be less than or equal to 2x, has to be less than 17 take away 3. So -4 is less than or equal to 2x, less than 14. And now you can solve for x. But remember, this would be like one thing that I could comment on based on your tests. A lot of you want to do like, you're on the right track. For instance, there was that question where you had to like multiply by 3 and multiply by 5. What a lot of you didn't do was multiply everything by 3 and by 5. You just multiplied strategically one small part of the whole thing. Well, this is an inequality. It's a big, long thing. So if you're going to divide by 2 to get x by itself, you better divide everything by 2. Okay? So now you're going to get -2 less than or equal to x less than 7. And what is that? What would that look like on a number line? Well, you could say, okay, x could be any of these values then. It's a whole set of them. It could be -2. And I know it could be -2 because it's x is greater than or equal to. Could be -2. So we could be -2, be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could it be 7? It can't be 7 because it says it's less than. Could it be 6.999? Could it? You be careful. I bet you EQAO does something tricky like this. They just like pulling the rug from under you. Can it be 6.99? In theory, yes, it could be. It could be -2.543210. But what did Mr. Poling stipulate in the very beginning? Elizabeth? It has to be an integer. Okay, so it has to be a whole number. Okay? So it can't be 6.99. You gotta be careful when you read the questions, okay? All right. Try those questions for homework. We'll take up any tomorrow. Okay?